Capricorn 10. An albatross feeding from the hand. In literature, an albatross is always a burden. And here we have the burden of care. And yet there's another side to this image where a wild animal is willing to approach a person. And such people as this are very rare indeed. Saint Francis of Assisi had this ability to radiate the purity of love. And so animals aren't afraid of him. He offers them no threat, no danger to their lives, so they come close. And this indicates how very tangible we can make the atmosphere around us by the intention to love. You can try this as an experiment in a social gathering where, be careful because it works, you radiate a certain feeling towards a person without any words, no gestures, no body clues. Just see if you can radiate that feeling and get them to respond to the feeling. They won't know what they're doing, all unconscious from their point of view. It's a little game I used to try when I was learning this stuff at the beginning times. And yet this message of the feeding of the albatross is indicative of another formula, which I think is the essential message. And that formula is, what goes around comes around. What you give out, you get back. And if you want to receive abundantly, then you must give abundantly. Whatever it is you want to receive in life, you have to give it first. So you give food to the hungry to make sure that you'll never be hungry yourself. Now, this does run against the mainstream teachings of everybody on the planet practically who is moneyed. The poor people know this well enough. The poor people really are open-handed when it comes to generosity. When I was traveling and I had some need at some point, I would always go to a poor person. I would know that they would help. The idea then that we can give in advance of our need. So we set up a bank. We give generously as much as we can. We take opportunity to give. I always thought it was an opportunity for me when I saw a beggar on the streets. I would want to give to them. It was something important for me to do. Nothing to do with their hunger and dealing with it, not really. The formula was that they were asking, so I gave. And that seems to be a good formula to live by, even though you know. You don't think you know you're going to be taken advantage of at some point. You know that, but you do it anyway. That's self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice is not giving a little bit of your surplus that you won't take any notice of to somebody who really desperately needs it. No, your sacrifice is when it actually costs you something. It really costs you something to keep to your principles. And if your principles are kindness and generosity, and it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you convenience. There it is. Now, I was in my early 30s, I think, and just waking up to a different way to live and trying to give up my old life. And I went to this lecture by an Australian guy in Bristol, in England, and he called it prosperity consciousness. He was a very inspiring teacher, and the essence teaching that he was giving was this one: give in order to receive. And he took it to the highest level. He said, do it. Just give away all that you own and see what happens. And I was fascinated by this idea. And I thought, well, if this is true, then I never have to worry about money again if I try this and make it work. If it's not true, oh well, I've got some youth in me, some vigor. I can claim back what I've lost. So I went for it and I gave away pretty much all of my money. I kept some back, evidence of some mistrust, but I gave away most of my money. And I didn't have any income, and so it was a sacrifice. And I just noticed that since then, money comes to me. And I can't explain how. I don't do anything to make it come. But it comes, and that's because I think that this lesson of the albatross is that if you actually grasp the nettle, step over the line, cross the Rubicon, you just go for it, and you would love to believe in all of these spiritual principles, and there's a number of them. But what goes around comes around is the essential one. That's the golden rule. Do as to others as you'd be done to. That's the essence of spiritual understanding. So if you actually prove that to yourself so that you've got faith in it, you know it to be true, then you're free of the burden of having to work for money. You do work anyway. You work and money comes to you, possibly as a direct consequence of your work. But you never have to work in order to get money. It just is that way. And you trust it, and you've got to take it to the line. You've got to take it right to the edge sometimes. But if your trust is strong, your faith is strong, then, well, it's very liberating indeed. Now, if you wanted to take this on a more pragmatic level, it's pretty obvious that if you're mean and tight and you never do anything for anyone else, at some point your community is going to notice that. And when you're having a bad time, you may not get the assistance you need. Excuse me. But if you do favors for people and you just make sure that you're a helpful, generous person all of your life, then when the time comes, your community will remember that and take care of you. It's a bit calculated, I suppose, but actually it's not bad husbandry, is it? It's quite a good idea to share what you've got when you don't really need it, because one day you'll need it, and you'll need to pick up on somebody else's ability to share with you. But that's not what this is about. This is about trusting, giving first, and then it will come to you. Trust that.